When we think of Philadelphia, its role as the nation's birthplace is almost inescapable. It's a city where the foundational documents of the United States, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, were signed and debated. In that sense, it's the original stage for the American experiment. But beyond that official history, Philadelphia has always been a city of deep contrasts. It was a major industrial power and a destination for waves of migrants, both from Europe and the American South, all searching for opportunity. That dynamic makes it a compelling case study. It's a place where the country's highest ideals of liberty and equality have always coexisted with the complex and often harsh realities of urban life. To truly understand the roots of enduring American social values, you have to examine this city, where the promises of the nation were first made, and where the struggles to realize them has been playing out ever since. It was in this city that one of the most brilliant minds of the era would arrive. In 1896, the University of Pennsylvania sought a researcher to conduct a temporary investigation into the social conditions of its growing black population. The man they chose to do this was Webb Du Bois, a scholar of formidable intellect and the first African American to receive a doctorate degree from Harvard. Du Bois, however, came to Philadelphia with a purpose that went far beyond his official assignment. It was an age dominated by armchair theory and racial pseudoscience. He intended to apply a new level of scientific rigor to the study of human community. He arrived not to confirm a problem, but to dissect its origins with data, turning the lens of sociology in a direction it had never faced before. Also, to interject here, while I was doing the research for this, I found out that Du Bois also spent time in Harper's Ferry during his work on the Niagara movement. I thought that was interesting, and I had no idea, and I lived there. So I included some pictures of Harper's Ferry because it's pretty. Alright, bringing our focus back to Philadelphia of the late 19th century. While the city has always cultivated a certain reputation for being, let's say, gritty, the specific social landscape Du Bois was about to enter was shaped by forces far more structured than simple urban toughness. At the center of this landscape, at least for our story, was the University of Pennsylvania. By the 1890s, the university's leadership, along with other prominent white Philadelphians, had become increasingly alarmed by what they perceived as a crisis in the city's black neighborhoods. A rise in crime, poverty, and what was then termed as social deorganization. Their solution to this was to sponsor a scientific, data-driven study to diagnose the root of the, quote, Negro problem, as it was explicitly called. Their focus naturally fell on the 7th Ward. This was a sprawling, densely populated area located just south of what is now Center City. At the time, it was the historic heart of Philadelphia's black population, the largest and oldest such community in the entire North. And it was a place of incredible diversity, home to a small educated black elite and a stable working class, but also thousands of recent migrants from the South and those living in deep poverty, to the white establishment looking on. The 7th Ward represented the entire complex and deeply misunderstood problem they hired Du Bois to solve. What Du Bois undertook in the 7th Ward was nothing less than a complete reinvention of the sociological method. At a time when the field was dominated by unsubstantiated theorizing, often tinged with racist assumptions, he introduced a level of scientific rigor that was simply unprecedented. He embarked on a monumental task of empirical data collection, conducting over 5,000 door-to-door interviews. He utilized meticulously crafted surveys to gather quantifiable data on everything from occupation and family size to literacy rates and religious affiliation. But he didn't stop there. He delved into the historical archives to provide context, tracing the long and often fraught history of Philadelphia's black community. Critically, he used statistical analysis to organize this vast amount of information, presenting his findings in clear tables and charts, a method that lent his work an objective power. And perhaps most importantly, he pioneered the method of participant observation. By choosing to live within the 7th Ward, he gained an intimate first-hand understanding of the community that an outsider never could. This mixed method approach was a radical departure designed to replace prejudice with proof. From this mountain of data emerged the central argument of the Philadelphia Negro, a powerful refutation of the era's prevailing racial ideology. Du Bois systematically dismantled the notion that the challenges faced by the African American community were a result of some innate inferiority. Instead, he argued compellingly that the, quote, Negro problem was in fact a social problem manufactured by the society that surrounded it. He meticulously documented the workings of what he famously termed the color line, which was a pervasive system of racial discrimination that actively barred black citizens from advancement. He showed how this color line operated in the economy, where black workers, regardless of their skill, were systematically excluded from the city's booming industrial sector and pushed into low-paying service and domestic work. He revealed its impact on housing, where black families were segregated into the most dilapidated and unsanitary districts, often paying higher rents than white residents for inferior properties. Furthermore, Du Bois challenged the simplistic, monolithic view of the black community. His data revealed a complex internal class structure with a small but accomplished professional class, a large resilient working class, and what he termed the submerged tenth, a population trapped in a cycle of deep poverty. This nuanced portrait was in itself an act of resistance against the flat, dehumanizing stereotypes of the day. The findings presented a portrait of a community under siege, yet one that possessed incredible strength and resilience. Du Bois highlighted the absolutely vital role of black institutions, especially the black church, which served not only as centers of spiritual life, but as the hubs of social organization, mutual aid, and political mobilization. While he did not ignore social issues like crime, he contextualized them not as evidence of moral failure, but as predictable outcomes of systematic exclusion and lack of opportunity. He traced their roots directly to the legacy of slavery and the persistent crushing weight of discrimination. Upon its publication in 1899, the Philadelphia Negro should have revolutionized its field. Instead, its reception was muted. The mainstream sociological establishment largely ignored it, and Du Bois's empirical, structure-focused approach was sidelined for decades in favor of theories that focused on cultural assimilation or supposed racial characteristics. Yet, its significance has only grown with time. The book is now recognized as the first major work of urban sociology in the United States and a foundational text for the study of race. Its rigorous methodology set a new standard for social science research, demonstrating the power of data to challenge injustice. It was not merely an academic text. It was a clear indictment of American inequality and a call for profound social and economic reform.